Welcome to the Elements of Spirit readings for the week of April 25th, 2017. If you've never seen these readings before, they're readings through the elements from ediblespirit.com, and I, your host, Michael Domitrovich. Readings through the elements, what does that mean? They are 5 different readings, ether, air, earth, water, and fire. The ether reading is the space in which all of the other elements are vibrating. So the way you do this is you listen to this reading, the ether reading first, and then you find your sun sign and the element that's associated with it. Each element has 3 sun signs associated with it, and you go and listen to that, earth, air, water, or fire. And the combination of those 2 readings together allows you to work with the ideal balance of your primary element in your life through this week. So that's the intention with which this guidance is offered, how to work with that which you're already working with to the best of your ability. So I love doing these readings for you. Thank you all for tuning in and checking them out every week, and they seem to be doing the trick. So offered in love and service from Spirit, from me to you. And let's see what has to be said this week. Okay, so there's it's an interesting thing. It's a very tantric bouncy castle that we're dealing with this week. It's this really cool jelly. We're gonna call it a swamp jelly. It's a swamp jelly trampoline. That it shows everyone kind of bouncing up and down in the ether. This is what's in the ether this week. So that means that there's it's a really interesting word, actually, that I'm being reminded of from the Thoth deck, or the Crowley deck, which is a deck that I used to use and love using. There's a word that's called putrefaction, and it's the power of water to dissolve matter. Power of water to dissolve matter. The power of emotions to dissolve, the power of feeling to dissolve things as they are. This is like if there's an impenetrable wall that you're trying to get through, feeling into it little by little, like the way that rainwater erodes a rock is one way of getting through. It's like water is the universal solvent, emotions as the that which can get through. But putrefaction is actually this principle, I think it's from alchemy, where it's like the power of water to actually induce rot, to actually the power of feeling over time, to actually induce decomposition and decay, water and death. And so what's interesting here is that this they're showing it to me almost like a trampoline, and this is everyone bouncing up and down. Not almost, but like a trampoline, a swamp jelly trampoline. The idea here is that the feelings in the ether, all of the emotions, all of the intensity of all of the retrogrades, the Mercury and the Venus, and the Mercury and the Venus and the Jupiter and the Saturn and the Pluto, all of the retrogrades, it feels like they did their thing. Ooh, I think there's a pot boiling over. Hold on, you're coming with me. They did their thing. Yes, indeed. It is a pot boiling over. I guess that's kind of a good symbol of putrefaction. Just making some split peas up in this piece. Water's ability to dissolve things as they are, the power of water over time, to cause things as they are to break down to a point where there's no distinguishing the good from the bad. It's just one big pile of primordial ooze. The message through the ether this week is that those retrogrades have probably turned up a lot of things that had to be rethought, redone, reevaluated, reworked, rewired, refocused. And that Venus went direct, I think, about 10 days ago now, something like that, yeah. And less than 10 days ago, a little over a week ago. And that, I feel like, started opening up stuff. But the problem is that once those retrogrades start going direct and things start changing, all of the feelings that have been caught up in the retrograde now come sort of flying forward. So that's my read for this, is that the intense emotional frequency that's been in the air over the last few weeks has actually gotten us to a point where everything is dissolved, where there's not really any further to go. I can't remember the exact date of Mercury turning direct, but I think it's only like a week away. It's not much more than that, so that would kind of make sense. That's the idea here, is that like the water has broken down things enough that now we're supposed to use them to bounce higher and get a clearer picture of this moment where we're at. So the idea is, in terms of this message, the symbolism of this message, is that the water has broken things down to the point where it's become this almost like jelly. It's set because it's so interesting. So it's like the water has broken everything down to the point where now it's had time to chill and it's set. And the idea is, typically with water, is to go as deep as you can go and look as deep as possible. And the message here is actually like, back off. Don't start tearing things open and looking deeper again right now. Let the depths to which you've descended in terms of your own inner knowing, or in terms of trying to break big challenges down into smaller parts, let that be enough. Let yourself not have to go deeper, and affirm that you can see clearly if you use the depths to which you've gone in order to see the bottom and say, that's enough, I'm bouncing back, I'm going in the other direction. So again, a bounce is a headlong flinging into this material, which is going to resist because we're hitting bottom, and we know that this is bottom, there's nowhere further to go, and we got to bounce back up. And bouncing back up gives the implication of getting a clearer view. So, interestingly enough, the ether reading this week is not a reading of action. It's not saying do this. It's actually saying stop digging, stop breaking down, stop feeling into this stuff. Time to reorient. Love this. Because we just moved into Taurus time. So the jelly setting, it's great. It's like whatever broke down during Aries time, Sun in Aries, now it's like whoosh, condensing in Taurus time, condensing. And that's going to give us the springboard, not into the next thing, but the springboard to see clearly right now. And whenever I say see clearly a lot, I don't like being generic. I don't like presuming you know what I mean. But seeing clearly meaning getting height, getting perspective, big picture, getting a clearer view. Okay. I use the knowledge from my depths to launch myself into clarity. I use the knowledge from my depths to launch myself into clarity. So there's some implications here. One is that you've been doing some searching. Two is that you've garnered something. You've gotten something from your searching. If only a sense of your limits, if only a sense of your bottom line, where it has to stop, where the bottom is, where you bottom out. I use the knowledge from my depths to launch myself into clarity. That means it's bypassing the other elements. We're going from like water down into earth, up through water, up through fire, technically, Aries time, up into air, in order to see clearly for maximum ether, And in that respect, it's like, again, we're talking about limits. It's like you've done as much as you can do now. Now it's time to stop doing, stop feeling, stop transforming, just for a moment, and get some clarity. Because the sense is that in about a week, when retrograde goes direct, there's going to be a whole new set of emotions that come out. There's going to be a whole new set of feelings. And I think, interesting, air and fire and water are going to activate. So thoughts, changes, and feelings are going to activate. And we're actually going to need to plunge down and rest in the very basic practical realities. Even a little bit of a clinging feeling of like, this is what I've got now in the season of Taurus, and I've got to protect it. I'm saying that's what's going to come like a week from now, is there's going to be this sense of hunkering down, protecting, anchoring that this is really leading to. So the idea is we want to use this moment to launch ourselves from the depths into clarity. Affirmation being, I use the knowledge from my depths to launch myself into clarity. If you have any questions about what your individual element is, I have the descriptions of them at the beginning of the other readings, and there's also a description in the description of this video, of the ether video, that says, fire is Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. The next reading is air, and I guess that's it. I use the knowledge from my depths to launch myself into clarity. Thank you for this opportunity. And I'll see you next week. Bye.